it's events, it's things are happening. You need to fire someone. Things are not going well. There's a crisis. There's something happening on European level. It's something with a new media deal. It's constant. So it's at a certain point it's not a drag. It's fucking hard.
Hey, it's Jake here from the High Performance Podcast. I want to start by saying big thanks to all of our new subscribers. This channel is growing like crazy, but most people that watch these videos on YouTube don't subscribe, and it's so important to us. If you can just hit the subscribe button, it grows our channel. The bigger the channel grows, the greater the names we can attract. The greater the names, the more important the conversations, and the more impact we can have on your life. So please, before you watch this video, just hit subscribe right now. It's a game changer for us. It's also fantastic for you. But right now, enjoy the video. Thanks for watching. Well, Edwin, thank you very much for joining us on High Performance.
You're welcome.
What is your definition of high performance?
It's a difficult one. I think I think for the bigger part of my life, I've been in a high performance environment. First, try to make it as a player. Then you take your first steps on the pitch with a full stadium. Then at 40 you retire, and then whatever you step into a new environment, trying to be a director or become a director, and dealing with pressure all the time. So yeah, it's I'm used to it. It's part of your body. It's part of your all day everyday business. You don't know anything else.
So you talk about dealing with pressure. Let's just set the scene for people listening to this. We're talking just 100 meters or so away from the famous Johan Cruyff Stadium here in Holland, and it has been a hard season. There's no doubt about that. How much have you learned this season about yourself and about the world in which you operate?
Yeah, of course. At the moment you have success and things are going well, it's easy. Everybody can do it. At the moment, it's hard. The criticism, decisions you made are not maybe not the right ones, or not paying off yet. Questions are being asked. Staff is looking away if you come in, or TV shows or podcasts are dedicated to the problems or the sport of crisis. And of course, friends of yourself, your parents. Are you still okay with it? What's happening? So yeah, you're dealing with it, and that's something what you learned as a player. You're very much on the pitch. You're very visible. 11 guys playing against another 11 guys. You save a free kick or a penalty, or you drop one, and you, because of that you lose. So it's been a learning curve, and especially when you had so much success, and then in a year that's not happening. Okay, what went wrong in the summer? What are the consequences? What should you take out of it? And that's something that's not written in books. That's not even talked about in podcasts or management lessons. That's something you need to experience, and that's life also.
So can we talk then about the things that went on and the things you learned from it? Because there are lots of media outlets and probably lots of podcasts as well that just talk about the failure, right?
Yeah.
We have a very different mindset to that. What we believe is that failure is the price of ambition, right? If you're going to try and do great things, there are going to be seasons like this. So let's rewind the clock. You talk about mistakes last summer, for example, or obviously the departure of Eric, and then the new manager who came in. Would you go through some of those moments and share with us what you've learned?
I think what Ajax is I think a very famous club, great tradition, DNA, iconic jersey, fantastic names that have played there over the years, but also a stepping stone for a lot of players. The league where we are playing in Holland, not the biggest league in the world. Of course, the top 5 leagues is where eventually everybody wants to end up. Spain, Italy, Germany, France, England. Those are and then you have also the top club, mid-sized clubs, and whatever. So in that way, it's we know every year you need to refresh your club, the team. Coaches are stepping up. Players want the next step, and I think last year we had about 13 players leaving, and 7 of them were like more or less starting 11, including the coach. 5 months before that, the technical director. So yeah, that's even for a club like Ajax that is used to making sure that there's sort of like a conveyor belt of new talent coming through. The scouting is functioning. That was just too much to get a hold of in the summer, and to anticipate and make sure that the success that we had over the last 4 or 5 years, that was in a constructive way going in the same direction. That's impossible.
So you talk about the DNA of a successful team like Ajax Amsterdam. What is that? How would you define it? And then more importantly, how do you maintain it?
Yeah, to maintain this is it's something where the managers of the coaches, the work in the academy, the scouts who finding the players and need to deal with. And I think we had over, let's say, from the 70s with the generation of Johan Cruyff, Piet Keizer, winning 3 Champions Leagues. In the 80s with Van Basten, with Rijkaard. In the 90s, the team with Seedorf, with Davids, with De Boers.
And yourself.
I was part of that also. The Wesley Sneijers, Nigel de Jongs. So every era there are players coming through, and that's something that stands us out. I think from a lot of clubs, we like to be that club that there's a DNA, and also that the players who are given the chance here also hopefully come back at a certain point and give something back to the club. Not only regarding transfer fee, going to one club to another one, because if we want to perform on the European stage, money is a big difference. And of course, not only spending a lot of money, that's not always the solution. Look at whatever some clubs in England this year. You had already a nice level. You spent 500-600 million. Doesn't mean that you become champion or even qualify for Champions League. So what you do with it, that's also very important. And quick decisions or managerial decisions, those are testing times for yourself as a CEO or as a director to make the right call, and making sure that the whole club believes in that that line that has been set up to get to the success, or to revive the success formula that you had before.
So let's talk then about some of these sort of specific moments and how you can retain the culture whilst allowing Ajax to do what it does, which is build amazing talents. I understand as a player, it's great. You do well here. You're going to get an opportunity, right? But for you now in a senior leadership role, it's very hard when you lose your manager. So would you talk us through the process of what happened with Erik ten Hag and how you deal with that? Do you just sort of accept when Man United come calling, you have to allow people to go? Do you try and fight to keep Erik when he showed an interest in Manchester United? How does it work from your perspective?
I think it works similar to all, even with players. Of course, every player wants to have a plan. When they come from the academy, they want to know a plan. When I come to the second team, when they will sign a new contract, when I'm allowed to train with the first team, when I'm allowed into the first team dressing room, what is my next step? And even with players you get from abroad, okay, you sign on a 5-year deal. You talk about ambition. Of course, you will need to win the league here, play Champions League football, create yourself, give yourself a podium, or we give you a podium. But you have to use it. You have to put all your talents and qualities on that stage, and from there on, there will be interest. And after 2, 3, hopefully 4 years, you take that next step. And the same with the manager. I think with Erik, when Erik came, Mark Overmars knew him already from past clubs, Go Eagles. He'd been at second team at Bayern Munich. He did really well with Utrecht. So he came here maybe not as an Ajax DNA type of manager, but he in the first year already with his talents and his work rate and his desire to every time to put the bar higher, establish himself as a great manager, and of course with the players that were around him. And you talk with the manager, you see what his plans are, or he looks at the players. What can I get out of the players? What is the ambition of the club? So in that way, you make also a plan for the manager. And of course, when you perform and when you do something really well, of course you attract interest, and that's We know that, and we are proud of it, that people are taking a next step to a bigger club, bigger league, and hopefully, we can use that also in our advantage to attract other talents that say, hey, through Ajax, you can get there and there and there, instead of straight away at 18 or straight at your first job as a manager in the Premier League.
So what was it in particular that Eric demonstrated to you, beyond the experience of being coached at other teams, that you looked at and thought, I think this guy can come in to Ajax and do a great job to enhance us?
Yeah, I think you have to get the different roles as a CEO. Of course, you have a technical director also. So the most technical decisions, or we will go through a technical director, of course. So the scouting, but also the selecting of a manager. And of course, there are talks. What kind of guy do you want in? You want a tough one, a tactician, or really one of the boys. So in that way, it's that's been, let's say, a combined work of Mark Overmars more with the scouting department, and of course just seeing if you see a player, his first touch, interesting, you put it in your mind. And the same with the manager. If you come into a team, they play a certain type of football or a certain type of tactic where your own club or your own team is struggling with, you think, could be interesting. Let's follow up. Let's keep on following, and that I think that's happened. And of course, there are conversations about staff, about performances, about raising the bar, what kind of players are coming in. But in general, we like to get our own players through. Then a manager who delivers a list with, I like these 5 players, go and get them. I think that's not how Ajax will work.
But you're somebody that's had the unique perspective of being in the dressing room with great coaches, whether it was from Van Gaal early on in your career to Sir Alex Ferguson at the end of your career. So you've got the perspective of being able to see what makes a great coach, what works, and now you're in the position of being part of the deciding committee, who's going to recruit a coach. So what are the characteristics that you've seen from those different roles that you've held that you think does distinguish whether a coach is going to be successful or not?
Difficult question, because you don't know who's going to be successful. It's a process. You need so many things to click to make sure that the project that you start, the players that you sign, the players that are coming through from the academy, that they're gonna gel. That the way the manager wants the team to play, that there's belief, and of course, football or sports is also a game of luck, of course. Inside post, outside post, on the bar, a penalty given or yes or no, red card, yes or no. These little things can be the fate of a manager, the fate of a player, or the fate of a director. If there's success, or is there failure. And of course, if you limited those chances, if you really work hard, if you can make sure that the belief in the group, in the way that the setup is for away games or for home games, how much talent does talent get a chance? Does younger players who are performing on the training better than older players, are they getting a chance, or will a manager stick with, let's say, experience with players who did it in the past? And that's what you've seen also at Ferguson, for example. But working at bigger clubs, and it could be the end station. Not a lot of players at United went to, let's say, bigger clubs. Maybe only Ronaldo in 2009, going from Man United to Real Madrid. But I asked also a question to Giggs or Scholesy or Gary. I said, you never fancied going abroad. It's like, whatever, there must be big clubs also, Inter Milan or Barcelona or Madrid or Bayern Munich. Edwin, it's like, we born here. Like my family lives here. I play for the biggest club in the world. The money is good, so why would I go abroad and learn a different language or a different playing style? Because I'm playing for the biggest club in the world. That's great, of course. Then when you have those 5-6 guys who play the whole life for a club, the childhood boy club, and at Ajax is different because, of course, players, even Matthijs de Ligt came here at 8-9 years old. Went to the whole academy at 16.5, made his debut. 17, he captained the club in the Europa League final. But still, for him, there are other ambitions. of course, when you're young, you want to play. You want to be part of the Ajax Academy. Hopefully, every year you want to take a next step to, and of course, at a point you know your talent, and coaches give you a little more attention, that kind of stuff, and you make your debut in the first team. But after that, agents, clubs, other players that you know, come on, you take a next step, and that's a complete difference than other big European clubs that have maybe a certain same pedigree as us, but they have the advantage of playing in a super strong league, and where the finances and the commercial income is much higher than, say, a club like Ajax.
Can the two of us just pick away then, actually, at this conversation about what it does for you personally? Because you spent your entire footballing career being in control, in control of your training, in control of your reaction on the pitch, to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Now, you talk about luck and chance and a refereeing decision and not knowing really. How can you know if a manager or a signing is ever going to be successful? So how do you deal with the uncertainty that comes with being the chief exec of one of the most talked about clubs in the world?
Yeah, in general, of course, it's part. And somebody says, the harder you work, the more luck you're getting. And of course, making long hours. Life as a player, it's easy. Of course, you need to perform on Saturday at 2:00. But in general, you train in the morning. Everybody is there to help you, to make sure that you have the right nutrition, that you train a certain level, that you get a massage. But work as a director or a manager, it's so much more demanding. It's 60, 70 hours. It's all the time being on, instead of being able to take a rest or focus or think. So you have to really create time also for yourself to know what is going on, to know if the decisions or the decision you want to make that is going to benefit the team or the process that you stepped into.
And how do you do that?
My playing style was always relaxed.
Yeah.
I was able to see through the lines, able to communicate with my defenders, making sure that one or two remarks I could make sure that they adjusted their stance or the way that they defended, or the way that somebody went up front to come back. And of course, as a director, you have the impact is sometimes a lot of meetings, a lot of discussions. You have a lot of managers who come with they have more qualities in certain areas than yourself. Being a chief executive, you don't know 100% of the finance, 100% of the commercial side, even the technical side. I'm not watching all the sessions. Your technical director or the technical managers or your coach, they are busy every day with tactics, with player development, with performances, and of course, as a chief exec, you do different things than only football.
So let's talk in more detail about this. First of all, you talk about you need time for yourself to see the big picture. You are the most senior leader at this football club. We have lots of business people that listen to this podcast who maybe struggle with that element. How do you find the space, the headspace to be able to make decisions and have a bit of separation?
Yeah, you feel yourself now also that if you're running too fast, you're losing time to reflect, to make not the right decisions, but decisions quick enough. Sometimes you take things with you, think over, and of course you have your trusted people, your trusted lieutenants, where you speak to, where you get good advice from. But the moment that things are going well, it's much easier to breathe, to find the time, and the moment things are going in a way that you don't expect, or you have to recover certain things. You feel that the time is running away from you. That the essence of creating space in your diary, creating space in your mind, that is going away, and that's not probably not helping the decisions or the influence you want to make on your organization. And that's a learning point, I think, for everybody. And I had a colleague. Like when I started in 2012, I was a marketing director. The idea was always for Johan Cruyff to bring ex-players into the board of directors. He always said like, you guys, you didn't do university like the normal people or the clever people do, but you guys did the University of Life, being exposed in the football stadium, being a young player, making sure that you got a chance in the first team, dealing with losing finals, with making mistakes, or 80,000 people that cheering you on, or newspaper headlines that are praising you or killing you. So in that way, you are, even from outside pressure, you can shut it off, and that's one of my qualities, I think. Making sure that the thing where I work on, or where we work on as a club, that you don't let yourself influence by their people who are shouting, making headlines, or talking rubbish because they don't know what is the real deal, what's going on into an organization. It's quite easy to talk about signing. Oh, he's not good, this and that and everything. But there are so many more things that are combined to make sure that all the partner you're working with is making success for the guys who are on the pitch.
I mean, that's typically far-sighted of Cruyff from what you read about him. And it's a conversation that many people have about going from the dressing room to the boardroom.
Yeah.
What would you say are the characteristics that are consistent that you learn in that University of Life, as Cruyff described it, that you're still using today?
The way that when a manager comes in, or even during the game in the first half, whatever, with quick words or quick shouts, you can adjust something. Halftime, we have a little bit more time to reflect and to make sure that the team is correct. As a CEO, it's that takes much longer to have an effect on how the organization is running. And a manager can make it quickly during the game, during 90 minutes, and then it's finished. And then you have another week to get the faults out, or change the player, or change the tactics. So in that way, it's what I learned also from, let's say, from Alex Ferguson. He said, I've been always very loyal to the people that brought me success, but at a certain point I have to make sure that the success continuously. And it's not always the case with if you hold on to older players that gave you success, but you have to make sure that they will continuously be successful. So you have to also look at the future and making sure that players who we need to develop, or maybe coming to an end of the road, on a respectful way, but sometimes it's not easy to be respectful in this world, because it's a hard world, and I experienced that as a player. You experience it as a executive, and in that way it's very comparable.
So Ferguson famously used to, he described it in his own terms, that he would think in 4-year cycles for his team, and the stability of his role allowed him to have that maybe longer perspective. How far ahead do you think as a chief exec?
Yeah, that's of course you make plans for whatever 4 or 5 years, long term plans, short term. Like a coach need to win the next game, or win the league. But of course, as directors, you have to look a little bit further than only that. But it's quite hard. I asked one of my colleagues at ECA. I think he's a director of a Premier League club. So what's let's say the best advice that you got? Let's say you started also somewhere, and I said, I went to one of the former directors. He was in charge for 12 years. I said, what piece of advice would you give me? He said, just win the next game on Sunday. I said, that's to be fair. You can have great commercial partners. The stadium can be full. It can be sold out. You have a great media department, great content creation, creative people. But all falls with winning on Sunday, winning the league, winning games, giving supporters a feeling of pride. And of course, you can say, we have plans for 2, 3, 4 years, but for supporter, it's the game on Sunday. It's winning a cup, winning a trophy, So everything needs to be focused on winning on Sunday, or that of course you have a manager for do that, and the coaches need to do that, and the players need to do that, and sometimes you maybe forget a little bit when you have success that success is all created on the pitch. And after that, it's quite easy also to, but also because on the office we do this, in the office we do this really well. Our plans are going really well, but actually it's all about those 11 guys or 16 or 20 guys delivering their performance on a match day.
And this was one of the rare seasons where you weren't winning enough matches and you had to part company
obviously
with the manager. Would you mind sharing with us how you get to a point where you make a decision that you need to change the manager, and just how you deal with that, really? You've already said it, people in football often say, we get such criticism because people don't know the full picture. And I think sometimes it's so helpful to really lay bare, not everything, because some things have to remain private, quite rightly, but enough so people can understand that, sitting down and telling Schreuder you're fired is hard for you as well as for him, isn't it, I imagine?
Yeah, of course, and certain ways it feels also not fair. What I explained in just earlier on about I think the 12 players that left, coach that left, and even when Alfred came, we still had Martinez was still there, Anthony was still there, so United came at a little bit late stage for both players. Maybe not expecting. Maybe we should have prepared a little bit better but even for Anthony, it was this a second year. Did not even play all the matches. So in that way, you're starting with a team that has been refurbished, redesigned, new technical staff. Now I think also the intensity of the first 3 months because of the World Cup in Qatar. I think that's also a different period for the players and for the coaches. So in that way, we're let's say in half November or early November, you stop already. We had a couple of results that was not going our way. Clubs that we should have beaten easily here at home, or losses away. That should have been avoided. And of course, you talk with the technical people, with Klaas-Jan Huntelaar, also former player, Gerry Hamstra, the technical manager at that moment. And you speak with the coach, try to find, okay, what are the solutions, what are the possible.
And what conversations do you have at that point with the coach?
Yeah, of course, not straight away after one defeat, but after series, and of course, you as a former player, you feel also sometimes does the players do the work for the manager? Is it gelling together? Is the tactic right? Is it bad luck? We said post red card or no penalty or a penalty in the 90th minute. But you try to find out what's happening, what the situation, and try to support as much as possible that you support the manager that you signed in the summer.
But what are the warning signs that you can see something starting to go wrong?
Yeah, of course. Possession is nowadays. It's data is one part of the game nowadays. Expected goals or that kind of stuff. But in general, the eye is sometimes not wrong from the truth, and in that way, it's you sometimes see or hope to expect more from a player or from a game or from a tactical decision or from the signing that the club made, and in that way, the results at a certain point started to deteriorate, and then the pressure will mount on a coach. And also on the board or on the players to make a decision on a position that we just filled in and hoped to have like a long-standing relationship. That's where you build for, and that feels also always awful to release people from functions that they put a lot of heart and hard work and effort and determination in to have a conversation that is over.
But the reason I ask Edwin is because we recently interviewed SteveParish, the owner of Crystal Palace, on this. And
yeah, but I think Steve is sorry to interrupt you, but I think Steve is somebody who's like pam 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 pam. He has certain way to address it, and I think every person is different.
Sure.
But I like to hear, of course, what SteveParish said. Like,
well, Steve was talking to us about he has a former footballer, Mark Bright, that sits with him at games because he doesn't understand necessarily the football side of it in the depth that you would. And what he was talking about was that there's sometimes things that the eye, if you're not immersed in football, that you wouldn't spot it, that a footballer would. So he said when he knew, for example, that things were moving in the right direction, it was in a 0-0 draw that Crystal Palace were involved in, but Mark Bright had said to him, this is going in the right direction. And it was the subtleties of the pressing and the way that the team were defending that he said, I wouldn't have seen that. So I'm interested in, what are those subtleties beyond the results or the data that you as a former footballer can look at a manager and go, this is either going right or this is going wrong, and that maybe we wouldn't spot as non-footballers?
I think it's difficult to explain what it is, but yeah, even when you're on the pitch, or I've been in teams also that the manager was not getting the full credit or the full attention of the players, and you get some alibi slidings or alibi defending. At certain points, sometimes it's not easy for players to step up to a director or the coach is not right, or the drills are not the way we expect it, or we're not training hard enough. It's not always easy. So in that way, you can spot sometimes how players are, combining with each other. But of course, you're not in the dressing room. You don't see the tactical discussions that the players with the coaching staff have. For example, in Germany, I think a technical director is always on the bench. He's always at the meetings. So in that way, somehow it feels like that it could be a possibility. So you know what the plan was, how was the execution on the Saturday or on the pitch is different compared to the way they trained, or they spoke about how can we win this game? How can we tactically adjust flaws from the other team? So
how involved do you get?
Sorry?
How involved do you get? How much do you connect?
I like not to get too much involved, to be fair, because we have technical people also, so that's their job to do the technical decisions and get also for the players, for the scouting. And of course, I see some tapes also about players, but I'm not heavily deeply involved because I'm the CEO. So you have different parts. Of course, my first love is football, and football must be the most spoken word in an organization of a football club. But in general, you have people hopefully do that job and find find the right players, find the right coach for your team. And of course, I have a saying, and of course you have whatever rubber stamp it. So in that way, it's important to get that assessment also for yourself, if it's the right man, and in that way try to make sure that ambition as a club combined with the work rate and the ethics that this new manager have, that coincides with each other.
And despite all of that thought, all of that hard work, speaking to all those people, things can and do still go wrong.
Absolutely.
How hard is it personally on a season like this?
Yeah, tough. Absolutely. Yeah, you're. It's really tough, but hey, that's the name of the game. It's performances that makes or break people. That's for a player, that's for a coach, that's for a CEO, and that's the way where we're living. And I'm not used to anything else, to be fair.
What's the toughest thing?
The toughest thing is the doubts that people have in your ability. A former goalkeeper or former player, but I've retired 12 years ago. I'm doing this 11 years already, so I'm not a novice. I think the organization is strong. has been stronger in the past, but the same as like you need to develop all the time. And of course, also for your own qualities, you have to every time think: are your own qualities still enough for the organization where you work in? How much effort did you put into it? How much effort do you still willing to put into it? And if the connection is still there with your staff, with the people in the office, with the players, and that's I think a constant situation that you want to feel for yourself also. And of course, I think the way media or people are thinking, or social media is reacting on defeats or bad signings or good stuff, or shirt introductions, or commercial parties where you make an agreement with. Everybody likes to think of everything, something, and sometimes people are talking loud on TV or putting anonymous stuff on the internet, and that's most of the time for your, let's say, surroundings. It's not nice, but for yourself, you know what it is. You know the football world, and you need to perform, and you're as good as your last match that you played, and you're as good as your last signing or the decision that you made as a director.
I think people often forget that you've got kids that can read that stuff. You've got parents, and like, no matter how old you become, you're always your mum and dad's little boy, or your partner, who's really defensive and protective of you. I think people often forget the cost on those people in your life, don't they?
Yeah, okay, but we know that you sit behind a computer or a smartphone, and you put something in, and it's gone for you, but it's out in the world. But it's I think it's more about like what happens 20 years when you're talking in the pub with your mates and you had discussions, and that's coming now on the internet or on the social media. Or on shows like whatever, not like this. I think your quality of podcasts is higher than other ones, but you can drag attention for your opinions, different opinions, crazy opinions, or very direct ones. Yeah, that attract audience, that attract viewers, that attract commercial parties, that connect with a program, and that's what the world ticks also at the moment.
So you're talking about having like the ability to adapt your communication style to the different audiences. And I was intrigued reading a story from your early days as a player when Van Gaal was a coach. Mm-hmm. And I read that he used a company to come in and do psychometric testing with the players so he could understand how players best received information and how he could be more flexible and adapt the way that he delivered his message so it was understood. You're smiling in terms of, do you remember that period, and what have you taken from it that you could still use and apply in your role today?
Yeah, I think you learn from everyone. I think with Van Gaal, and he gave me the opportunity. He discovered me. He found me at my local club, so he scouted myself. So he signed me for Ajax. Gave me the chance in the first team by replacing Stanley Menzo. But he was, let's say, one of a kind. Like the way, the eye for detail, the communication he had with players, the way on the tactical side. And technical side, he wanted to improve the players. That's almost second to none, to be fair. What he did with our crop of players that was in the mid 90s, and also the next step that he had at Barcelona and Bayern Munich and let's say Man United also. So that's almost surprised me. Of course, he had success in the leagues, the titles that he won. But the previous club, but I would have expected with his qualities and everything, and to also have to do that all once again also in the Champions League. And in that way, what you learned, he always tried to find what's behind the player, because it's not only the player that makes a difference, also the human being, what's behind the player. What's the situation at home? Is he happy with his wife? Is his wife pregnant? Did he move? Is he living too far away from Amsterdam? So it was all the things that could matter to that the performance of the player would harm. He would check that out and making sure that he could help as good as possible on that part.
That's a really good, strong culture. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about maybe a challenging culture when you were with the Dutch squad in 1996, and there was question marks about cliques and groups and separation. I'd love to know what you learned in that period? Because as we've spoken about a lot in the last little while, the tough times are often the educational times.
Yeah, I think we're coming to that tournament as winning the Champions League '95, losing the final with, I think, a lot of Ajax players, some players already playing for big clubs. So I think could have been one of the favorite. I think so. The team was developing. I think the success of the lack of success or tensions, didn't really feel it. And of course, it's I've been someone that's never been attached to one group. I always liked it to be floating around, because I was always the guy with the different jersey, or I was always the guy with two other guys who are doing different drills than the 18 outfit players who do whatever passing drills or 5 against 4s or that kind of stuff. So I always, for myself, I never felt really only connected to one side, or so I tried to even move between tables. I never really felt it. More afterwards, things were explained, but I think the media made a lot of things of it. But it was more like our own fault. The players, they mentioned things, but in that way, you were a player. You're not that far ahead. You had to just think about your own performance, and of course, winning a championship like the Euro '96 it would have been massive. But afterwards, there was a holiday. You go on holiday, and after 2.5 weeks, you need to report at your club, and you go on. Yeah. And that's something that's been always my case. I close it, and let's make the success of the next step.
I'm interested in that role that you said of floating between groups, because to bring it to the modern day, you talk about how when times get tough, people then start to have doubts. People divide themselves up into cliques. There's protectionist behaviour that goes on in dysfunctional cultures. So what did you learn from maybe that experience, or in other teams where those cliques developed, that you could help our listeners understand? How do you avoid that happening? What are the tactics and the techniques that you learn?
Yeah, not even tactics or something. And same in my office, especially in the early parts. I like to, every day or every 2 days, just to walk through the whole office and everything. It's not really particular meeting or seeing someone, but to make sure that you have a glance over your shoulder. Or what are you working on at the moment? Or because in the early parts, everything was new for myself. Because I retired at 40. I did a sports management course in Amsterdam for a year. And I started as a marketing director, but the idea was to have a CEO that was need to run the company or the club, and the other part need to develop myself. So I learned a lot from him, like how he dealt with that kind of stuff. But also I always find it important that everybody is working together to get a success for the club. So it's not only the players, but also the guys who are in the laundry room, or the security guards, or the guys who are making sure that the pitch is okay. And I think that's to give a little bit of attention to other people who are maybe at a lesser level than yourself. That makes the organization much better, to make sure that everyone is connected, everybody is pulling the same cord, to make sure that the success is not only the players, the coach, the board of directors, the shareholders, but like the whole club.
But I've worked in dressing rooms myself where you can see these cliques or divisions starting to emerge, and when you speak to players, they go.
But it's not strange, because certain people like a type of music. They like to dress in a certain way. So it's not strange that people are gelling together better. The love of cars, or younger guys who like to go out a little bit more. You have some experienced guys who just whatever. If you're married, so it's not strange that there are groups or tables together. You talk easier. You have the same sense of humor. You have the same background, and of course, it's with the national team it's different, of course. So then you all come together and you share experiences. But in the dressing room we have 4 Brazilians, two Mexicans, 3 Italians. It's logic, and a couple of homegrown players and a couple of signings that are teams together, or groups together, sitting at a table. You like the certain kind of food. You go to the same restaurants. So in that way, it's not strange that our groups in a team, and it's the work of the coach to make sure that everybody sticks together. And when you're on the pitch, the work rate is there, the intensity is there, the quality is there, and making sure that everybody's determined to win that game on the Saturday.
But that's almost the alchemy of a great coach, to take that diversity that can be a strength, as you say, but then create cohesion when you need to go and perform. And that's the bit that I'm intrigued to understand. What are the lessons that our listeners could say of how they can do it, whether it's in a staff room at a school or whether it's in their own business or maybe a family unit? How do you get that cohesion? What are the best ideas you've seen?
Yeah, that's not you guys, but some people want to find the finesse of there's not always a reasoning behind the way you do things, or that I read in a book that this way you need to behave as a director, or this way you need to create your team. And I think it's also a lot of, you have your own feeling, your own how much effort do you put in making sure that you show that you're a leader, not to show that you're a leader, that you make sure that people see you as a leader, is also doing some dirty stuff. So not only shouting at people or throwing things if a presentation is not working. There's normal behavior, and that, I think, normal behavior is something that it's not always easy for people who are elevated, who are promoted in certain positions, because you start maybe thinking, oh, I'm bigger than them or bigger than this. I've never had it in my life. Okay, you get a lot of respect, you earned your money, you have your trophies. Everywhere you go, you see an English guy or a Man United fan, always shake your hand. Oh, thank you very much for Moscow. Yeah, it's fantastic that you make an impression on somebody's life or somebody's way he thinks about you. But yeah, you're not different than that guy that shakes your hand.
Let's talk about Manchester United then. This came relatively late in your career.
Relatively late.
35. You were getting ready to retire on a beach, probably.
Absolutely, almost, yeah.
What was said to convince you to join that football club, or was there no convincing needed?
No, not a lot. No, I had a chance when I left Ajax in 1999. I first had a meeting in Liverpool. Didn't sign for them. Then Juventus came. Went with my agent over to Turin. We had a good meeting in one of the golf courses in one of the clubhouses, and I think now we're 85-90% convinced to join Juventus. I think then we get a call from Man United. Would you want to come over? I said, yeah, when you come over. Even that time, I think was still before the Champions League final. Italy, I think that was like also a country with great football tradition. I wanted to take a different approach. So I signed for Juventus, to be fair. And so that time there was an opportunity already to sign for United. After 2 years Juventus, 4 years at Fulham, and at 34, getting the opportunity to play again for one of the biggest clubs in the world. Yeah, that was an amazing experience, and I think Ruud van Nistelrooy was a big part of it. I think he spoke also with Ferguson at the end of that season. What's going to be what's going to happen? What are the chances? What players do you want to sign? Yeah, maybe you have to get some experience at the back, and we have two young center halves. We need. Why don't you think about Van De Sar? Yeah, but he's 34 and he's at Fulham, and okay, but like the level that he has and the national team, and he has a clause in his contract, blah 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 blah. So I think before you knew it, the voicemail message from Ferguson at my when I came back at training, and that was.
What was on the message?
Yeah, the message was, "Hello, Edwin, it's Alex Ferguson. Blah, 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 blah. You want to hear this message again? Press 3. Okay. Hello, Edwin, it's Alex Ferguson here, and I would really like to want to sign you at Man United. And we have a go. I couldn't understand it. Like, whatever. What am I hearing here? So you want to hear the message again? Press 3. So I had to listen 3 or 4 times something to the message before it started. Okay, this could be interesting. And I think we had one meeting, one conversation by phone. And nowadays it takes ages to get players signed and to get agreements. And I think with my agent and then David Gill came over to Scheveningen here in one of the cities near the beach. I think with 2-3 hours we're done, and I signed a 2-year contract.
So you played for Ajax, you played for Juventus, you played for Fulham,
Yes.
and then you go to Manchester United. When we spoke to Robin van Persie about this, we asked him what was the difference between his experience at, say, Arsenal and Manchester United, and he summed it up and said, at Arsenal, people like to win. At Manchester United, you had to win. What would you see was the difference between those other clubs and Manchester United?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different for me because my initially period, I won a lot of things here at Ajax. I think we're a very demanding manager, great culture at the club, young players that wanted to improve, wanted to get better, hungry. Frank Rijkaard is one of the leaders. He won everything, was like an icon for us, and he came back to help us achieve what we wanted to achieve. Then 2 years Fulham, of 2 years Juventus, 4 years at Fulham. Not a great stage of my career. So the first day I came at United, I felt like a warm bath. This is the level I wanted. This is the pressure that I needed. This is the way that football need to be played. This is how determined you, how hard you work, and the quality of the players around you. Of course, the foundations were there already. So in that way, from start to finish, it was an amazing 6 years.
And so many people try and find the answer to why that club and that team did so well in that period. What do you put it down to?
Quality of players. Of course, a fantastic manager. But I think, also there's not that Ferguson was taking the sessions or something. I think he had great and field coach and assistant coach. Even when the meetings were there, of course he always started came with 2 or 2 remarks about the history, about the past, or if you remember this game, and we have to. So in that way, it's the whole aura of himself, the things that he won already, of course, the way he developed the club, that he almost owned the club with 2 guys, with David Gill and with himself. The backbone of the team with players who are. Homegrown, Giggs, Neville, Scholes. Scholes was Paul was of course a fantastic player, but he was not really into the conversation. Paul was just wanted to play football, just want to kick a ball as hard as possible into the goal.
He was good at that.
He was really good at that, for example. But media duties after a Champions League match, he went to the exit door, to the fire exit door, whatever. And nowadays, you see him talking on.
Full of opinions.
As a pundit, full of opinions, everything. So that's funny how people develop, but just the sheer desire to win, the sheer desire to protect the image that United have, and win that Champions League again. That was to be a part of that era, that they had in the 60s, that they had in the 90s, and to have that in the 2000s, 2008, 2009. That 6 years that I were able to play for United. The success that you had with that group of players, and also, of course, you need to refresh it. And of course, even there we had some bad signings and signings that didn't work out, but the quality was there, and that was an amazing period of my career to end at such a high note.
I mean, talk about the signings that didn't work out is interesting. Again, we were lucky enough to sit down with Rio Ferdinand, and he spoke about some of the signings that he felt, in hindsight, the dressing room treated quite harshly, rather than put an arm around the shoulder and try to help them. So the example he cited was the Brazilian Anderson, where he said he felt that he struggled with his diet and his lifestyle, and the dressing room mocked him rather than tried to guide him in a more helpful way. What was your experience of that dressing room when you talk about the will to win?
Of course, quality. Recognize quality when you're on the pitch. If you play a ball hard to a player and he receives it straight away on the right foot, or if you pass it, I think. But the aspect of having fun or joking, or that's also part of the culture of in a football club, and that's there. But I can understand a little bit what he said. But I think at a certain point, you 2-3 times you say something to a player. After the 3rd time or the 4th time, he's still not reacting or showing different behavior. Then you almost need to drop need to drop it because you have to think about your own performances, making sure that whatever the area where you're responsible for, that is working. As a young player, of course, you need to help. You give them advice, but you need to be open also to take the advice. And if it's not happening, then you have to take along and find someone else who you can help, and hopefully bring into the team to get the performances up.
And at the other end of the spectrum is Cristiano Ronaldo, who, like you, has gone on to have a career of true longevity. What are your memories of sharing a dressing room and a club with him?
The dressing room that he shared with me, you mean?
Exactly, the dressing room that he was lucky enough, honoured to share with you. Yeah.
No, I think I remember one of the conversations with him in the gym, really the smaller, the old gym and everything, and he was working out with, I think it was with an elastic band with his ankle and everything, and they started talking, and now I really want to become the best player in the world. So said Ronnie said, a lot of people say that. No, I really want it. It's like, okay, what are you gonna do about it? Yeah, everything. I think his work ethic, the way he developed himself, the way he make sure that his body was specialists around him, the way he trained, and I think one of the funny stories I find always, I told a lot of people already, say often after training, Edwin wanted to take some free kicks. Said Ronnie, it's like, take the second or third goalkeeper. I'm 37. Come on, let's take one of the other guys. I'm tired. No. Come on, I want to score against the best. Yeah, but Ronnie, you're not going to score. So what's not the point? No, come on, you're getting goal. And of course, then he had the free kick and the position and the stance and the ball that floated. But he always wanted to end it with a goal. So it's not even whatever that I save one. Okay, it's finished. But he always end up with a goal. I said, but Ronnie, I want to also have a good feeling of going into the game. It's not only about you. And of course, it's always been about him. And this determination and the way that he conducted himself. And I think a lot of people have, let's say, maybe got a different opinion about him, but I found him really in the dressing room funny. If we brought our children, like Scholes' kids or my son, he always played with them. I think the way that he took another step from Man United, it was not easy after leaving Man United and then going along for even higher accolades and everything. The way that he played at Madrid and the goals that he scored and the impact that he had there, it's been amazing. Yeah,
I think there's actually really strong lessons for the players that you have here, though, isn't there? Because there's that great phrase that talent will get you in the room.
Yeah, but nowadays it's a little bit more different. It's difficult to get that internal motivation to improve yourself all the time, and we have a few.
Why is that though? Because
I don't know. Maybe it's the people that are depending on you, the people that cherish you, that put you on a pedestal all the time. Hard work is not a strange word. It's something that's really important. Getting somewhere is easy, but making sure you take next steps, that you become better, that you become more valuable for the team, that you become more decisive for the team. That's hard nowadays, I think.
It's a shame though, isn't it? Because you've got players like a Paul Scholes or a Lionel Messi, where you look at the natural ability and feel for the game has got them to a certain point.
But to say about hard work, but for example, Lionel Messi, I think has tremendous qualities and talent and everything.
And yes, I'm not saying he doesn't work hard. Let me just be straight about that. I suppose what I'm saying is Cristiano, unlike those two, has forced his success. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. He's made it happen, you know. And I think there's a great lesson to young footballers there. You can be here. I mean, I remember Jurgen Klopp saying he was a second division ability footballer, a Bundesliga mindset footballer, so ended up in the first division. Mm-hmm. That's a really strong message for people that, what is the phrase? Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Oh, yeah, that's what Ferguson always said. Sometimes said when we were in the dressing room in Old Trafford, he said that lot in the other dressing room, if you guys work hard, they're never going to beat you. But if they work harder, if they work their socks off and thing, and you think, okay, it's going to be Preston, it's going to be whatever, Bournemouth, they can win. So it all starts with working hard. Work hard, then your extra qualities will shine.
So internal motivation then is something that you did have. Where did that come from?
I think a normal upbringing. I came to Ajax when I was 19. I'd never been in one of the regional selections. Until 18, I was playing my local village with my friends. Friends, of course. It's a football team, but not on a high level. I was doing the newspaper round. I was working in the flower bulb area, so I did a lot of stuff. So until I was at school, until I was 19, then suddenly I got signed for Ajax. So I think I had a normal upbringing, and also I find it important to the people that are around you, that are working also for the club, or that you treat them in a normal way.
And where do you get your motivation from now? Because like you can't do your job unless you work really hard.
Yeah, that's true.
Give us an insight into what the hours you work. You never.
You don't want to. It's true. It's continuously, and that's it's hard. It's whatever. You have your phone, you have your laptop, you have the calls, you have you have your dinners, you have your work, you have your time that you go to games. You want to be you have the commercial partners. It's events. It's shit. Things are happening. You need to fire someone. Things are not going well. There's a crisis. There's something happening on European level. It's something with the new media deal. It's constant. So it's at a certain point it's not a drag. It's fucking hard. And that's something that where friends of yourself say, geez, Edwin, why do you need it? Why you have your money? You can have an easier life, and of course something goes that through your mind. But in one way, you have, you want to be success. Success sometimes also addictive. You wanna achieve things, and that's something that you carry with you all your life. And if you play different sports or with your friends, you always want to win. I remember I have one of the older. He's not an employee, but he's more like a volunteer. Said, Edwin, every time I want something, and you're fighting me on everything. It looks like whatever you want to win every game. Yeah, but maybe that's true. But I think when I'm in my right, I think I want to achieve this, and not what the thing that you mentioned or that you want to do. Because I think this is the way forward, that I need to do that.
Do you know what I also think, and I may be totally wrong here. I think there's an element here that you love proving people wrong. And when you talk about one of the hardest parts is people that say former goalkeeper, former footballer, I think you get an energy from that. I think you love to show people that you can be a former footballer, you can be a former goalkeeper. You can also be a CEO of a business turning over hundreds of millions of euros a year. We're not fixed. We're not in a box.
I think it's true. I think also because, let's say, I've not been the biggest talent. I've played a good career, had a great career. But I think I was really good at looking through what was happening. I don't think I had the greatest reaction. I don't think I was the most elegant goalkeeper. But in the way that I played, the way I could see through the game, making sure that the players were in the right position, making the saves when it mattered, that it brought you to a certain level. And that's something you want to emulate or show that again. And of course, I don't think this job is something you're going to do all my life. And at a certain point, you want to have your rest, and you want to have your quality of life. Also, the moment that the phone is not ringing anymore, that the emails are not that important anymore. I think that's also something that you need to give also back to your family and for your own sake of mind. At a certain point that you know what life is also about.
We're almost finished. We're about to move on to our quick-fire questions.
That's great, because in 10 minutes ago, I was my next meeting already. So it's
before we do the final very few quick questions, I just want to ask you about the moment that you get the phone call from Johan Cruyff. I mean, this is a significant moment in your life. He rings and offers you the opportunity to be a director at this football club. What was your instant reaction?
Me? I was still at United. I never thought about it. Of course, the moment he calls and you think about it, and you speak to some other people about it, and of course I took a management course and need to find out what is life. I spoke long to David Gill also about the decision you need to make, the way that you need to lead the company, the club, that kind of stuff. A lot of what kind of things are you need to fight against, or so in that way it was a great interesting period, and especially there was a group of ex-players that was surrounding Ajax. With Frank de Boer, with Mark Overmars, Jaap Stam, Wim Jong, Dennis Bergkamp. So all those kind of things to work together again on the pitch, off the pitch, into the football club, giving something back to the club that gave us our first opportunity. Yeah, that was amazing to do.
And how big was your imposter syndrome at that time? That kind of feeling? Imposter syndrome, that feeling that you can't necessarily do something. That you're not good enough.
No. I think it was important to have that. Let's say that CEO. That was his job, was to lead the club, but also to develop myself. So I needed a somebody to see what is life in a suit. What are meetings? How long are? How do you make decisions? How do you get input from other people? So it was great to have like a 3-4 year period. Like I'm not gonna call it a trial period, but to see if things were gelling or working, if you really wanted this.
I just think that footballers don't know that, right? What goes on in the offices. Does it not make it a healthier sport and a healthier world if more time was put into educating players about what actually goes on aside from a match on a Saturday?
Yeah, absolutely. That would help. I think there are more and more courses available. I think the UEFA does a lot of stuff. I speak regularly when the UEFA is here with, I think, an MP program. I think, for example, Nemanja Vidic was in there. A couple of Brazilians, Nigel de Jong was there. So it's more and more that players are having the ability to not only, okay, at the end of the year, what you're going to be, I'm going to be a coach. No, there are also more possibilities nowadays, and of course you have ambassadors, and that's whatever relatively, let's say, easy with the PR that you have, with the guy that you have, the performance that you had for your club to do that. But it's an amazing feeling to give something back to your club or to the football world of the experience that we gained over so many years.
And finally, how do you think you've gone from being one of many recruits that Johan Cruyff brought to the club as a director to learn about football to being the CEO? How have you made that journey?
Yeah, I explained this also earlier. When I was as a goalkeeper, I was here at the back. Sorry, of course there's a camera, and you have your 4 defenders, you get 2 sitting midfielders, and you have the attacking 10, and you have the strikers. Yeah. As a director, it's always said, okay, you have to lead from the top, top down. But I don't want to be in the top. I want to be making sure that I push the people that are there. So I was led from the back. My overview, everything was behind me. That was not good because it was a goal. So in that way, I always had everything in front of myself. So I always like to have things in front of me. So because that's always my perspective. A couple years ago, I played like a testimonial game, but outfield. I was more like a midfielder, and certainly I got balls played into myself, and you have people coming in your back, and I didn't really like it because I've no experience with looking over my shoulder. Because my whole life is things in front of me. That's what I like, to have, that you see what's happening, and hopefully you can make the right decision to have an impact on the results of the game, or making sure that you have an impact on the direction of the club where we need to go, and reaching a European level. I think almost 5 fucking seconds from a Champions League final in 2019, playing Europa League final in 2017. Yeah, those were the moments it needed to happen. We're a little bit off it at the moment, and let's make sure that we bring Ajax back to the level and the quality on the European stage that it needs to be.
Yeah, brilliant. So we normally wrap up with a series of quick-fire questions, Edwin. So the first one is, what are the 3 non-negotiable behaviours that you and the people around you have to buy into?
I still answer my phone if somebody calls me at 11:30. Doesn't matter. Appointments are in my diary that probably don't need. So I'm quite relaxed, to be fair. I should be harder in certain ways.
Okay.
Interesting. What is your biggest strength? What is your greatest weakness?
Our strength is, I think, I'm collective. I'm not that quickly into a panic, or I don't know what's happening. That was my quality on the pitch, and I think hopefully it's still also my quality here and as a director. And the other one was
Weakness.
Probably too nice.
What advice would you give to a teenage Edwin just starting out?
Yeah, it's just fantastic to do something that's in the area where you've grown up, where you became a man. I was as a child, I was quite quiet. Didn't want to be seen. I was quite tall, and sometimes when tall people, they like to make themselves a little bit smaller. But at a certain point, you come onto in the limelight, and you're there. So it's just great to be something, and that a lot of people get enjoyment from, and they have pleasure from it. And of course, you're not bigger than the club. You're just try to help the club as far as possible to reach and to bring success to the supporters. I think football club, they live and the supporters live and die for that club. And you see that what happened with the Super League, 2-3 years ago. And of course, a club need to earn money because you need commercial partners. You need guys who pay a lot of money for a business room. But in general, the supporters are the backbone of the club.
One book that you would recommend to the readers of the High Performance Book Club?
When I was really young, I was hungry for so much. I was always reading, but to be fair, since I started this job, it became more and more difficult. Even podcast, a lot of people listen when they were doing the dishes or walking the dog, and I think I've listened to 1 or 2 of them, but it's not really my thing. So I liked the book about. I bought a lot of books at the airport when you go on a trip or so. You buy how to manage your time, how to make a difference in the boardroom, or you start those books and you think, it's rubbish. It's not rubbish, but learning on the job, the experience that I achieved, the connection that you have, the people, the CEOs of other companies who are could be a bouncing board of yourself. That I think that is find people that can help you, that you trust, that give you advice, that you can need when it's difficult.
How important is legacy to you?
Legacy, it's not. I think I have it as a player. You achieve something here, you achieve something in Manchester at Juventus, and I've never been back to Fulham, for example. So I would love to go to Fulham on a normal way, just go there, go to Caven Cottage, take the bus from Kingston or something over Putney Bridge. Those things, what my kids did, to experience that again with them, or maybe with their grandchildren. Those things that will be great. And legacy, I think a club like Ajax, it's to bring that back to with all the people, with all the work that's been done, with many people that are not here at the moment anymore. But I found it more like a how you call it, with a baton, like a
relay.
Like a relay. So I have the baton in my hand, and just you want to give it to someone else that is better equipped financially on the sporter side, and give it to someone else who do something with it. Because it's not my club; it's the club from the supporters. I had a fantastic time as a player and as a director, and I'm looking forward to whatever next couple of years, and let's see what it will become.
And the final question, thank you so much for giving us your time. And it's so interesting to break down what's been it's good to talk after quite a difficult season, because I think it gives such a unique perspective to football fans who all have a very strong opinion about the game and about the job that people like you do. So the final message really, not just for those football fans, but for the myriad of different people that have tuned into this conversation, what would you like to leave ringing in their ears, your final message for living a high performance life?
Don't forget to enjoy it, because that's what I never ever do. But hard times you take it on. Sometimes the enjoyment or the success, I think, that's part of the job. It's normal. Get on with it, but don't forget to enjoy it.
Hey guys, it's Jake here. Listen, before you go, please do me just one favor. Hit subscribe. It makes such a difference to us. The more subscribers we get, then the bigger the channel becomes. The bigger the channel becomes, the bigger the names we can attract and the more impact we can have for you. So thanks for watching, and please subscribe right now.